Welcome back everybody, I'm Jaran Gerber, your host, and today I'm going to react to a video called The History of Mortal Kombat 3, A Legacy in Fighting Games. Now for new updates and content you can visit the links in the description down below, and let's get started. Enjoy.
Welcome to the Digital Dojo, where legends clash and every fight writes history. Today we're stepping back into the arcade era to lock horns with one of the titans of the fighting game genre, Mortal Kombat 3. Released in 1995, this game not only pushed the boundaries with its relentless action and iconic characters, but also sparked debates that echoed through the corridors of gaming history. Mortal Kombat 3, or better known as MK3, as it's fondly called by fans, arrived at a time when the appetite for arcade fighting games was insatiable. Developed by Midway Games, MK3 was the third installment in the Mortal Kombat series, a series already renowned for its brutal combat and the infamous finish him fatalities.
My favorite.
With MK3, the developer aimed to dial up the intensity and expand the Mortal Kombat universe even further, introducing a slew of new characters, environments, and game mechanics that were designed to offer more complex and engaging combat experience than its predecessor. As we dive into the pixels and behind the screams of Mortal Kombat 3, we'll explore not just the game's technical and artistic innovations, but also the stories of the people who brought this digital fighter to life. From whispered strategies in the back rooms of arcades to the sharp criticisms that sparked national controversies, MK3's journey is a saga worth telling. So get ready. It's time to visit the fury and fanfare of this arcade classic. Grab your joystick and let's unleash the combat once more. Delving into the development of Mortal Kombat 3, we uncover a period of intense creativity and technological innovation. Led by the dynamic duo Ed Boon and John Tobias, the Midway Games team set out to make MK3 not just another sequel, but a landmark title that would redefine the fighting game genre. Their mission was clear: ramp up the action, expand the lore, and push the arcade technology to its limits. The development phase was marked by a leap in both hardware capabilities and software engineering. Unlike its predecessors, MK3 was designed using a more advanced version of the Midway T-Unit hardware, commonly known as the Wolf Unit. This new system allowed for richer graphics, more detailed character animations, and faster gameplay, which were critical for the fluid combat sequences that fans had come to expect. Character design underwent a revolutionary change with MK3. Boon, Tobias, and their team introduced several new fighters, each with their unique backstory woven into the Mortal Kombat mythology. These included the cybernetic ninjas Sector and Cyrax, which showcased the game's darker, more technologically twisted narrative arc. The inclusion of these characters not only diversified the gameplay, but also expanded the storyline, giving players new combatants to master and new rivalries to explore. The software used for character digitization evolved as well. The process involved capturing live actors in costume performing various moves, which were then digitized into the game. This method, while used in previous games, was refined to include more complex movements and interactions, allowing for a greater range of motion and more dynamic fights. Despite the technological advances and creative innovations, the development was not without its challenges. Balancing these new features with the expectations of a rapidly growing fan base put considerable pressure on the team. Each decision, from character abilities to gameplay mechanics, was scrutinized and debated to ensure that MK3 would not only meet, but exceed the high standards set by its predecessors. Central to these innovations was the introduction of the combo system, which allowed players to chain multiple attacks in quick succession. This feature significantly deepened the strategic element of combat, encouraging players to think several moves ahead and anticipate their opponent's actions to chain devastating attacks. Another significant addition was the run button, a first for the series. This mechanic allowed characters to close the distance between themselves and their opponents quickly, making fights more dynamic and fast-paced. The run button added a new layer of tactical depth, as players now had to manage the run meter that would deplete as they sprinted, adding a crucial resource management element to the high-stakes battles. MK3 also expanded on the use of special moves and fatalities. Each character had a unique set of moves that could be executed by performing special button combinations. The fatalities, brutal finishing moves that had become a hallmark of the series, were more elaborate and graphic than ever. These moves not only served to finish a fight, but also provided a cinematic flair that added to the game's appeal, drawing players and spectators alike into the visceral experience of the match. The game also introduced combat codes, a feature that allowed players to enter specific codes using the joystick and buttons at the versus screen. These codes would activate special conditions in the matches, such as invisible combat or silent combat, providing additional replay value and variability to the gameplay. This feature not only enhanced the fun and unpredictability of matches, but also encouraged the community engagement as players shared and discovered new codes.
Love this music.
With the release of Mortal Kombat 3, the roster of characters saw significant expansions and revisions, injecting fresh dynamics into the game's competitive scene. This installment introduced a host of new fighters, each bringing unique abilities and backstories that further enriched the Mortal Kombat universe. As mentioned earlier, among the newcomers were several characters who would become staples in the series. For instance, Sindel, the resurrected queen of Edenia, brought a distinctive blend of sonic screams and hair-whipping moves, offering players new offensive strategies. Similarly, the introduction of cyborgs Cyrax and Sector, with their technology-based fighting style and projectile attacks, diversified the tactical options available to players. Notably, Ultimate MK3 also included a hidden character, Smoke, who could be unlocked under specific conditions. Smoke was originally a palette swap of existing ninja characters, but was popular enough to warrant a full-fledged spot on the roster with unique moves and fatalities. This not only served as an exciting challenge for players to uncover, but also added a layer of mystery and depth to the gameplay experience. The game didn't just expand the roster, it also altered several existing characters, impacting how they played and interacted within the new game mechanics. For example, returning characters like Liu Kang and Kano were redesigned with new moves that aligned better with the faster-paced and combo-oriented gameplay of MK3. These changes were crucial for maintaining balance among the characters and ensuring that each fighter offered a distinct yet competitive gameplay experience. So when MK3 launched in 1995, it quickly became one of the most talked about games in the arcades and on home consoles. The anticipation was high, and it reflected in the game's sales performance. Mortal Kombat 3 sold well across multiple platforms, including the Super Nintendo Entertainment System, Sega Genesis, and later the PlayStation and PC. In its first few months, MK3 sold over 1 million copies worldwide, making it one of the best-selling titles of that year. The game's popularity continued to grow, particularly in North America, where it dominated arcade revenues and home console sales. However, while Mortal Kombat 3 was commercially successful, its critical reception was mixed to positive, depending on the platform. GamePro, for instance, gave the arcade version of MK3 a glowing review, citing the game's depth and replayability, while Electronic Gaming Monthly, EGM, gave it an overall score of 8.5 out of 10. Praising its visual presentation and gameplay mechanics, while the Sega Saturn version of MK3, for example, received a lower score from EGM, who criticized the inconsistent frame rate and control issues, rating it around 6.5 out of 10. Overall, the sales figures underscored the game's popularity, even if the critical reception varied. MK3's strong performance in both arcades and on home consoles proved that there was still a significant appetite for the Mortal Kombat series, despite the mixed reviews. MK3 was not just significant for its gameplay innovations, though. The various versions and ports it spawned played a crucial role in its legacy and reach. The first major revision, Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3, was released later in 1995. UMK3 addressed many of the balance issues noted in the original MK3 and expanded their character roster further, reintroducing favorites like Scorpion and Katana, who had been absent in the initial release. This version also added new stages and revised the game's combo system, improving the pacing and competitive balance. UMK3 was widely seen as an upgrade and is often preferred by competitive players for its refined mechanics and broader character strategies. Another significant version was Mortal Kombat Trilogy. Released in 1996 for various home consoles, this version combined characters, stages, and music from the first 3 Mortal Kombat games, along with some exclusives to this edition, creating a comprehensive MK experience that appealed to both new players and veterans. Trilogy introduced Aggressor Mode, a new gameplay feature that temporarily increased the damage a player could inflict, adding yet another layer to strategic combat. The quality of various console ports of MK3 and its iterations varied widely. The PlayStation and Sega Saturn versions of the Mortal Kombat trilogy were well received for their close approximation to the arcade experience, including graphics and sound. However, the Nintendo 64 version, due to hardware limitations, contained fewer characters and stages, which disappointed some fans. The Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis ports of UMK3, while impressive given the limitations of their respective platforms, understandably lacked the visual and audio fidelity of their arcade and newer console counterparts. As we look back on Mortal Kombat 3, its impact on both the gaming world and pop culture becomes clear. This installment not only pushed the boundaries of what fighting games could achieve technically and aesthetically, but also left an indelible mark on the broader entertainment landscape. Mortal Kombat 3 cemented the Mortal Kombat franchise's status as a cultural phenomenon. The game's launch came during the golden age of arcade gaming, where it stood out for its intense combat, graphic content, and unique characters. It quickly became a staple in arcades and home consoles worldwide, captivating players with its blend of martial arts, science fiction, and fantasy elements. The game's success fueled the demand for Mortal Kombat merchandise, including action figures, comic books, and an animated series, further embedding it into the cultural zeitgeist of the 1990s. Mortal Kombat 3 remains a defining chapter in the Mortal Kombat series, and a game that balanced the expectations of a growing fan base with the bold ambition to innovate and push the genre forward. It's a reminder of a time when games were evolving rapidly, pushing the envelope of technology and creativity, and it continues to resonate with both old-school fans and new players discovering its brutal charm for the first time. Whether you remember it as a game that kept you pumping quarters into an arcade machine or button mashing on your home console, there's no denying the powerful legacy of Mortal Kombat 3. Thank you for watching.
So that was the history of Mortal Kombat 3, a legacy in fighting games. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I was so surprised to see how the roster in Mortal Kombat 3 changed. I mean, we are so used to the first 2 games, how the ninjas were wearing their Fukumen and Zukins, and when I saw Sub-Zero, he's completely changed, showing his face and the red mark through his eyes. I mean, we are also introduced to new characters, the sub-boss Motaro instead of Kintaro and Goro, Cabal, Sindel, Nightwolf, Striker, Cyrax, Smoke, Sector, Shiva. I mean, it is brilliant to introduce new characters, but I was so surprised to see that Scorpion and Reptile was not included. But everything was added when Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 was introduced. The stages, the new fatalities, the codes, I mean, the entire story also changed. This is absolutely brilliant. Midway and Ed Boon and John Tobias, these guys were absolute geniuses and still are. It is just so sad to see that John Tobias is not part of the team anymore. Just to show you how much I care about Mortal Kombat 3, here goes. Here's my very own original copy of Mortal Kombat 3, the Windows 95 version. And here is an official magazine of Mortal Kombat 3 arcade secrets. I absolutely love this game. It is my favorite game, and we also know that the very first game is the best, but Mortal Kombat 3 is my favorite out of the entire franchise. And a word of wisdom for today.
Fatality.